So this was at a party a long time ago. I don't remember where or exactly when. I don't even remember the people there. But there was a general discussion about relationships and relationships that failed. I don't know why it kind of stuck with me, but a person said to me directly that if you're not in a relationship now, that means every relationship you've been in has failed. I didn't really like the sound of that, but I was sitting there thinking, you know, I can't really argue with this guy. There's some truth to that. So there's a saying I like as far as failed relationships. It goes something like, sometimes you're the bug, and sometimes you're the windshield. And as far as who's the bug, who's the windshield, it seems like that really matters. Because people, it's real important to people to say, well, no, I didn't break up with them, her. I mean, she didn't break up with me, I broke up with her, blah, blah, blah. So nobody wants to be the bug, everybody wants to be the windshield. So in that regard, I was, I think, a year or two out of my divorce after a long 20-year marriage. It dawned on me that I've never been the bug, I've always been the windshield. And I thought it was odd that I've never really had my heart broken. And it was a topic of curiosity for me, so I you know, well, does that mean that I'm really too shielded with my emotions, and so I never become vulnerable enough to be close to somebody so I can get really hurt? I don't know about that. The other possibility was, you know, I'm so desirable, nobody will ever break up with me, right? Can you imagine anybody being vain enough to think that? So in any case, it finally happened to me. I just got my heart crushed. I was that bug. I didn't just get bumped by that windshield. I got smeared onto that windshield really badly. And I was really in a deep funk for about 2-3 months. I'm not sure exactly what happened in those 2-3 months. I remember going to work, but it must have been pretty bad because I lost something like 20 to 30 pounds. And I've never done that before in my life. And to this day, I still don't quite understand why I was just totally devastated by this. Part of that, I think, is the male ego. Have you ever noticed that after a breakup, it's really hard to remember the good times? You always remember the bad times, all right? And it's also hard to admit, maybe you really had feelings for this person. Maybe you were even in love. But in any case, I was in a deep funk. What happened? It seems so simple-minded now, but she was also out of a long marriage, and we started seeing each other and dating each other. And I always gave her the option, look, if you want to date others, rather than getting into a deep relationship with me right away, please do so. She always insisted, no, that's not me, okay? Well, later on, a few months later, I discovered that indeed she was going out with others, and that just devastated me. The only thing I can say is that I totally trusted this person, and I felt betrayed by her. And so, in any case, there I am, this sorry-ass person. And remember, somebody gave me a book to read. It was by, I can't pronounce her name properly, maybe you can get a help, Piedmont Chondrin. Okay, anyway, it's the title of the book, I didn't give you the exact one, it's a long one, it's like Places You're Scared of, a guide to fearlessness in life or something. All right, and so I started reading thinking this would help my sorry ass get out of the state. And then what the author says is, well, stay in that state. Don't run away from it. I think, oh great, this is different, all right? But I stayed there. And why stay in that state? She claims and states that when your heart is broken and you're in a totally vulnerable state, you get to see the world through a lens that you don't ever see any other time. You can see hurt in others. You can see all the hurt in the world. You can see the hurt in yourself. You can understand how people can get their feelings crushed. And this was totally new to me. not that I'm so callous I've never been hurt, but I've never been hurt like this before. It was pretty amazing. I'm not sure I had a choice, but I did stay there. But there was some comfort in me knowing, well, look, don't feel sorry for yourself. There's a famous author out there that thinks this is a good place to be. I eventually came out of that state and became my old, obnoxious self. I think some people probably missed the depressed me, but in any case, I describe it as one of the best things that ever happened to me. And why is that? First of all, I believe in being humble and humility, and being even humiliated to kind of ground you again. And it was really refreshing for me to kind of get off my high horse, not that I feel like I was on a high horse, to be really lowered to pieces, all right? Then I started becoming also more aware of how my actions impacted the feelings and emotions of others that are close to me, and being a lot more careful. And also being a lot more brutally blunt about where I'm at with my sentiments and feelings in a relationship, to the point where I feel like it's almost too brutal. But also, in coming out of that state, I learned how to forgive this person, because I also realized that people don't go out thinking, I'm going to scheme a lie, and I'm going to get away with something and really hurt this feeling. Nobody ever thinks that. In fact, the saying I like now, or even under the best of intentions, people get really hurt. So this just happens in life. So again, when you're cautious with other people's feelings, which is very understandable, it can lead to misunderstandings. So, so after all these years, okay, what do I think of this thing, where whether you're together or not, as a metric for whether a relationship is a failure or not? I don't think of those as failures anymore, because how else do we learn anything about ourselves but by relationships with others? And so I learned a lot about myself, my desires, my knack for seeing things that may not be there, but I put them there because I want them to be there. And then lastly, if you do use whether you're together or not as a metric for whether a relationship is a failure or not, I'm reminded of what Chris Rock said about gay marriages. This is when gay marriages were a debate and controversy. Chris Rock said, well, you know, if gay people want to get married like us non-gay people and be miserable, what the heck, let them.